All right, welcome back to Ars Cryptotica. I'm really excited to have Brian Xin back on the show. He's from Uptick Project, and I think he's got a lot to say about what's going on over there. Henry, can you get us going?
Yes, wonderful. And well, great to have you back, Brian. As somebody who's been with Uptick since the very beginning in the testing phase, one thing I can say about Uptick Project is that your dedication to exploring the needs of the creator community, what changes need to be made as your project evolves, that you listen so intently and take everything very seriously. And I haven't had that experience so clearly with any other project yet in the space. And I think that's a testament to what will be the end product as you arrive at that. So welcome back to the show. And I think it would be great just to start off with the general updates. What things can we look forward to as far as changes, evolutions, etc. And we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm so glad I'm back to the show, and thank you, Harry, and thank you, John, for giving me the time and the opportunity to give some updates here. Yeah. So I would say, in my view, any type of internet product is a live product. So it should evolve and grow with the community, with the users. So that's the way I try to do Uptick and drive the Uptick app along with the community. Yeah, actually, I learned a lot from the episodes from you guys, because you had a lot of interviews with other projects and also bring insights based on your experience in the art history and also the insights on NFT. So that actually bring a lot of thoughts and ideas to me and my team, because we really want to grow with the real users, right? So creators, artists, and also end users, collectors. So if we can understand what they really want and what they're really looking for, that's the very valuable for our product, because we're not defined a done product, right? Delivered to the market to see it's live or dead. So we need to grow. We need to grow like a baby, right? To then become a grown up. So that we actually enjoy this process a lot, and also especially with you, because we had some conversations about the features, user experience, and also something in the broader scope. So let me give you some updates from Uptick side. So the first part is, most important part is whatever we already put it in the market, we want to increase the user experience, the usability of this app. Because, the purpose is we really want to let general public, the internet users, can really use it. Whatever you try to create, publish your NFT, or you want to collect, buy an NFT. We want to make it easy as possible, just like a normal internet application. So I think we did something pretty good in this area, but there's still a lot of room to improve. And also, let's dive into the artist side. Well, you are a wonderful artist also. So we learned a lot from your ideas. For example, in the next few weeks, we are going to have a major upgrade of this Uptick app. For example, for the artist homepage, we need to display all artworks this artist ever published, no matter it's sold or not sold. And the second part is we take your input as we are adding the burn function. because an artist might be by mistake, right, publish a NFT artwork, but by mistake on the price or whatever other descriptions. So he wants to withdraw it. So because on blockchain, there's no way to undo it. The only way is to burn it, right, to destroy it. Then they can re-mint this art as a new one. So these are all good features we learned from you, and we just put into practice. I don't want to list all the details here, but I would say user experience will be better based on all kind of conversations we have with you and in the community. And we welcome more people to join our community, give us inputs. And the second part is, currently in the NFT market, the most NFT application, they are all web-based and linked to a crypto wallet plugin, like a MetaMask. And all the price tag, so most are just, by cryptocurrency, right? Like ETH, BNB, whatever. But we also take some input from some artists. Say they want to, basically they want to sell and receive stable coin, just like USDT, USDC, this kind of stable coin. So we are also going to add a stable coin price tag for the artist, whoever want to publish in this way. In that way, they can publish mark as a stable coin, and also they can receive stable coin. So I think this is probably useful for some traditional artist who is not really into the crypto market yet. So this can help them to calculate the value of their artwork in the market.
Yeah, you're eliminating volatility.
Yeah, that's true. And also, so one thing in our past conversation, and also in some of your episodes, you also mentioned the social function is very important in that app, because the purpose is not just like make a flash sale, right, in the marketplace for artwork. We really want to build a platform which can attract artists and collectors to stay together, to build the relationship between them. The long-term relationship. This will definitely help the artist, and the collector stay in the platform, and also really, build the relationship, right? Be based on the valuable NFT artwork. So they publish or collect. So the social function is very important. Actually, in the very beginning, we have the social function basic elements ready. For example, messaging, and also like you can follow somebody, you can message somebody immediately. So we're going to enhance that. So another part is we're also building a digital gallery function. So it's first, it will be available in the app. So for the collections you have in your crypto wallet, you will be able to first is show off to somebody else, right? And also provide the permission to somebody else to browse your private gallery. So just like I invite you to my collector room, right? Collection rooms to take a look. So we're building that. At the same time, we are adding a web function in our official website, which is also called Digital Gallery, so that we can also expose some artworks in our website. So that will be a first step to prepare for the web version of the whole Uptick marketplace. Yeah, so that's all the functions we're working on, and it's the wish list is keep adding. It's longer and longer.
So let me ask you, with regards to interface at the artist profile page. Are you going to, or have you set it up so that additional information like a podcast, a blog, a website, a CV, etc., can be part of the artist profile in a clear way?
Yes, of course. That's very important part. So basically, you can put all kind of social media accounts with links in your profile page, so that people can go to that pages, and at the same time the description or CV. So and also we can include some pictures. In the future, maybe some rich content media like a sound or voice or videos. So we just want to make sure this can be a true home for the artist to introduce himself. Yeah. So please give me more inputs once you see it. So we really want to add it. Yeah.
Will do. Now, the other thing we have discussed in the past, as you know, I'm also working off of Foundation at the moment. Foundation, Rare. These are more specifically fine art oriented sites. They're not as generalized as Uptick. They're not as ambitious as Uptick. Let's just say that. They are focused specifically on fine art and not really much else. That being said, the art and the artist, the relationship to the Foundation app, they've really sort of brought home the value of the auction. And I'm wondering if auctions in a credible way will become part of Uptick, so that as a function for artists, we would be able to establish, like, say, our MO of sales through auctions, because they're actually pretty exciting. They drive traffic, they drive sales, they increase valuation without the artist having to commit to overpricing their work. And I think that's important. And I hadn't quite realized the value of that so clearly until I started working with Foundation. That if you set a price, like I've set price records many times for myself on Uptick, but there's always you always run the risk of scaring off, new collectors who maybe don't know your work that well. And so when you set a price, say like you set it for 5,000 Iris, then you run the risk of moving people out. But if you set an auction with a reserve at, say, 1,000 Iris, you have collectors in the space who are ready and willing to break that price record and ready and willing to take that auction and run with it. And then you have collectors that want to get involved and don't quite know your background yet. And so the auction serves as a great way for new collectors to realize the value growth of artists that they're looking at. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on auction.
I have one more comment about the auctions, if you don't mind, to throw in there too. So as a collector, when I want to buy something from, one of my favorite artists, but if I'm sleeping and then it comes available and then it's sold, I have like no way to know that it's, there's an opportunity to get it, or when I wake up, I don't know if something's been issued and sold or not. But I think also with the auctions, it would give a lot of people a chance to see that, okay, something's coming up, and, be more aware of it and put in a bid.
Yeah. And let me just add one more thing to this, Brian. So of all the auctions that I've seen and worked with, what seems to me the most effective is the 24-hour auction. And like what John just said, what that does is it sets up a 24-hour period where the sale is underway beginning at the first bid. So let's say I mint on Uptick and you have an auction function. It's 24 hours. I set a reserve bid for 1,000 Iris. Until somebody purchases, puts in a bid for 1,000 Iris, because that's the minimum, the sale does not begin. So like John said, he goes to bed and I haven't minted any works. I mint to work 5 minutes after he falls asleep. And I put that into the auction. So it's set at 1,000 as the minimum bid. And let's say 1 minute after I mint and set my auction going with a minimum bid of 1,000, somebody places a bid.
Mm-hmm.
That gives John 24 hours to notice the auction. So so what he's saying is, for collectors who don't want to miss out on their favorite artists, the auction gives them the opportunity to not miss out on their favorite artists. So just another way of thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. So Henry and John, what you said is exactly right. So actually, in Uptick team, we already have this auction plan in place for a while. The reason we haven't published it yet is we want to build the basic framework ready to make sure user experience is ready, because we don't want to make it too complicated at the very beginning. But the auction function is really, really important for, especially, I was talking to my team today. So maybe in the next version, we also need to add another separate category, like a artwork. So, currently we have like event ticket, digital collectibles, right? So we want to separate artwork as a separate category. Because why? Because we think artwork should be like a one-of-one. If it's one-of-one artwork, so it will be ready to do the option type of setting. But also it can be also open to other type of collectibles. But in general, I think, once we have this marketplace in place and the basic purchasing process in place, then the next step is to add different methods of setting, right? And also maybe some different methods for playing with the collections you have in the pocket. So for the auction
Wonderful.
side is it's definitely important, because I myself also missed some wonderful artworks, right, from Daniel, right? So the other day I checked with you, you said, when he published it, it's gone. When I wake up, it's gone. So yeah, that's definitely. So it's not just because there's a lot of type of auction methods. We also try to put a different type of templates inside, such like you can set up a timer, you can set up a limitation for in some scenarios, because also maybe you can also go straight to a target price to buy it immediately, right? So instead of waiting for the people bid for it to increase the price. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to play with the auction. So we also monitoring a lot of websites, the auctions they are doing. So I think it's very important to have this kind of I call it different ways to sell a artwork or collectibles. Yeah, so you will see that very soon. Yeah.
Good. And within the category of art, which I love the idea of establishing it as its own category for creators, because and we've talked about this, extremely important is going to be to eliminate orientation parameters on the types of images that are uploaded for NFT minting. The way collectibles, which I get that's where you started, and the collectible card is that shape. It's, a traditional poster art orientation, like 3:4 ratio. But, the square, the rectangle, whether it's vertical or horizontal, like none of that should be limited. Because especially, if you're going to eliminate a lot of very good artists if you do not have landscape orientation as part of your available options.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why we think a separate category for the artwork is very important. So it's far more beyond the traditional collectible cards or whatever photographs. Yeah, so Yeah, so we are keep improving that. So and another, I would say maybe a pre-announcement for a big news to you at this moment is we already have a cross-chain capability ready now. But well, it's first cross-chain is between our Uptick network, which is based on Cosmos IrisNet, and the cross to the BSC Binance Smart Chain. So that's the way to let our user have the freedom to transfer the NFT assets between those chains. So this will expand basically the liquidity of the NFT asset between different blockchain economy. So once we have this ready with BSC, it means we are opening up to all type of Ethereum technology powered public blockchain. So that will be a big step forward.
Huge step. So let me ask you a question just to clarify. You say you have, so interoperability, that's the holy grail for the market right now. And I'm glad that you guys are working hard on that. The interoperability with BSC, is that across all platforms that operate on BSC? So for instance, is there any kind of permissions that need to be acquired for the artist if they want to move to, say, Twinsy, or they want to move to Refinable or Binance NFT? Like, is there a permissions needed, or is it just automatic?
Well, currently, the NFT asset transfer is automatic because we can. Because once we bridge the protocols between our part and the BSC part through the different smart contract, so the asset can be transferred freely. But the marketplace in that blockchain, whether they can recognize such asset or not, it depends on the marketplace. So still need to talk or have certain of permissions. So we are going to do it step by step. First, we want to make sure in the network level, protocol level, all the NFT asset can freely flow among all different blockchain economies. And then once it's available in that blockchain economy, so the application in that blockchain should be able to recognize it. Of course, we will also provide a certain data standard for them to interpret it in the right way or display it in the right way. But on our side, so our current goal is to really make Uptick as a place that can aggregate all type of NFT assets, which can be freely distributed in different blockchain economy, but still stay in the same Uptick application. So basically, in the next step, you can see, maybe you can still see a lot of artworks listed in the Uptick, but there was a small tag, say, this is on Iris, this is on BSC, this is on Ethereum. Yeah.
In order for, if I were to mint a work on Uptick on the Iris protocol, and then you utilize the interoperability, is the NFT token with the metadata of the art then wrapped to be operable on a BSC chain or eventually the Ethereum network? Does that mean, like, you have to have wrapped Ether or you have to have wrapped Bitcoin? Does that mean it's a wrapped NFT?
Yeah, you can describe that in that way, because basically an NFT asset, you have on-chain data and off-chain data. Off-chain data is not going to move, and the on-chain data is basically it's a contract on the blockchain. So basically, if we want to transfer this one to the other blockchain, so we need to kind of like just like a pegging from main chain to side chain mechanism. So basically, you are holding it in this blockchain and issue a new one in another blockchain. But we have a middleman contract to control that. Yeah, it's like a bridge. Currently, it's like a bridge. Yeah, because between if it's inside Cosmos Iris economy, we can use IBC directly, inter-blockchain communication protocol directly. But it's between this one and the Ethereum technology. So basically, we build a bridge to do that.
Yeah, where I wonder the issue of the minting costs on Ethereum versus the lack thereof with the Uptick on Iris protocol. Now, if you were going to create that bridge to Ethereum, so like within the Ethereum network, you as you know, all of the various platforms, if you mint on OpenSea, you can see those mintings if you're on Mintable or Rarible, they're because it's on the Ethereum network. If you are building this bridge, that means you're saying that I would be able to take my minting on Uptick for next to no gas, move it across the bridge to Rarible, wrapped, as we said, and then it would be able to be sold on Rarible. If that's the case, then I would just I'm curious how you're going to get around the permissions, because wouldn't the Ethereum network frown upon that? Because then everybody would mint on Uptick and move to sell on Rarible.
Well, yeah. So
I'm curious.
Yeah. So there's basically two steps. Whether it will be available in Rarible, I'm not sure, because Rarible is an application. They try to select what type of NFT asset they want to recognize and put it available in the marketplace. But for the first step, we should able to make those NFT assets available on Ethereum blockchain. So whether the marketplace on top of this Ethereum blockchain can recognize it, it's a next step story. So we just make it available first. So in order to make sure it's available to other marketplaces, so another step is to really provide a metadata standard. So other people can, if they want to, include this type of, say, Uptick NFT assets in their marketplace. Yeah. So they should recognize the metadata that we provided, right? So because that's the way to interpret. So whether the special attributes they need to display in their UI. But basically for the basic token, anybody can list it. But NFT requires more metadata attributes.
Well, what's fascinating is I could see this as a competitive advantage for blockchains kind of almost unionizing against the larger market forces of Ethereum. If you consider that there are a lot of different platforms that, like, whether they're on BSC or Cosmos or Tezos, Theta, etc., all these primary blockchains that the applications are building on top of, with your native coins that are so inexpensive to mint. The offset is sort of like the market force of Ethereum is that it has the most global exposure, right? So you have the allure to the most artists of significance because of global exposure and the sheer number of platforms, the ERC 721, the sort of collectible standard in the elite houses. A lot of collectors will only collect, I'm saying at the highest end of collection, they'll only collect the ERC standard. They're not collecting the native coins as much. I think that can change drastically and quickly with a kind of, and I say unionizing, but that's the wrong word. It's just the right concept, that if all of these, like Uptick, Refinable, Binance Chain, Twinsy, Theta, Hen on Tezos, that these sort of satellites that are building on native coins that have the great benefit of gas cost. If they were part of a sort of satellite as a larger entity, that would really be a force to be reckoned with against Ethereum's market dominance in this space.
Yeah, I agree what you said. So, the vision of Uptick is not just create another, say, monopoly, right? Another self-controlled platform to manipulate all kind of NFT assets. The vision is really to be open, to be decentralized, distributed. So we want to provide the best service, best financial model, so people to attract artists or creators to mint their assets from Uptick network. At the same time, we also provide the best user experience for them, right? To help them to stay in Uptick application. At the same time, we want to be open. Because for anybody who collect the NFT asset from Uptick, the assets belongs to collector themselves. We should not control that. So we should open up the door to help them to move the assets to the place wherever they want. And hopefully they will find Uptick might be a very good place to put their asset here and to play with that. So that's my vision for that. Just like, in the past years, globalization, right? So people try to connect different regional economy together to take advantage of the value of each regional economy. Just like we can build something in China and we can sell it in US, right? Sell it in Europe. So the company can get better profit from that. So we should just connect them together, and then we see how it grows. We should not be closed.
I like this. And across the market from my surveying, you are by far have the most inclusive with regards to expanding across the market, interoperability being a primary goal, remaining decentralized, being a global network. And ultimately that inclusivity and sort of lack of elitist, staying within your protocol, that is so refreshing to me. I think it's one of the highlights of your mission, with at least with regards to sort of the future of the NFT, because I think, at least so far, most of the native coin-based chains really seem to be staying in their mission, still feels situated in that sort of isolation of like, this is the coin, the native coin, this is our platform, be part of this and stay here, so I applaud you on that global outlook, that global sensibility, that you don't really have boundaries here. And I love that, because I think that is going to allow for the greatest possible amount of growth, and all with the way in which you're starting to narrow down and sort of segregating the conceptual needs of, say, like the collectible creator, collector, the artist, creator, collector, the event creator, user, that this separation of needs, I think, is really essential. And so again, applaud you for that. I want to change subject briefly. There was in the past month a major security breach at one of the NFT marketplaces. Hicks, I cannot figure out how to pronounce it, but in the market, most people call it either Hick or Hen. It's the primary NFT marketplace on the Tezos blockchain. The hacker or hacker group was able to figure out how to come in a backdoor and basically steal NFTs, right? So they weren't stealing, the wallet. They weren't stealing the tokens, the native token. They weren't stealing the money, so to speak. They were stealing the NFTs. And have you talked about this with your team? And is there any, if you could give the audience a sense of, do you speak amongst the community of blockchains and NFT platforms? Do you reach out and talk to that Tezos chain? Ask them, are they sharing any information about how it happened so that you can protect your chain? Just if you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Sure. Yeah, actually, you bring up a very important points for the current market status. NFT is just another type of token, right, on the blockchain. So by nature, it's the hacker will be very interested to test it out, because no matter it's in Tezos or in other blockchain, that's the same thing. So NFT is basically you issue it with a contract, right? So, and you use a marketplace or other business logic to host it, to trade it, and to store it, or to whatever ways to play with that. So there will be a lot of security holes because this is a so early stage market. A lot of things are very vulnerable, I would say. And also in the past few weeks, you can see the hacker attack on BSC, right? A lot of DeFi projects also become the victims. So I think it's pretty natural in this stage because the whole blockchain and also now we start to have some early stage applications on top of blockchain. They are all in, I would say, experimental stage. It's an experiment. We are doing it right together on blockchain and building the blockchain economy on top of that.
Yeah.
So that's the nature of that. It's not a well-established kingdom yet. So we should be able to accept this reality. At the same time, when we build application, especially we are dealing with the valuable NFT asset, we should be aware of this and pay deep attention to that. That's why, in Uptick, so we are not moving too quick onto many type of NFT assets yet, even though we can do that quickly, like a music, video, a lot of things. Some there will be a lot of security issue we need to take care. Some we are aware of that. Some we don't. So that's why we want to be very careful, because basically we are handling people's assets, right? It's not just a message or something. So we should be very careful and we should be responsible for that. So I think those hacker attacks are very healthy for the industry growth, even though they're creating some victims. So so basically, I think we really need to pay attention to that, and also whatever business logic we build, we need to make sure there's we have the security check, and also for some important assets related protocol, it should have a security audit, right? So I think moving on, all these process should be taken into place so that we can make sure, announce to the people, this is a secure marketplace. You are secured. NFT asset bought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that audit process, is that something that Uptick engages in or will engage in at a particular point?
Yeah, actually, I have some friends that are running their audit, security audit companies. A friend is also running it in Silicon Valley. So we have a lot of talk on this. So we probably will get into that point very soon, because currently we're building, still enhancing or improving all the basic blocks on the Uptick. So once these are ready, we should do that. For example, just like I mentioned earlier, so we are going to introduce stablecoin into that. But the stablecoin that will reflect the other token's price, right? So basically, if you mark as $100, then people can pay by Iris token or pay by BNB, whatever. So in that way, the price will be very important. Exchange price will be very important. So then we will introduce some DeFi function, Oracle Chainlink function here. And also we need to link to the price from some centralized exchange. So in order to make sure that will be stable and sustainable, we will put a lot of monitoring service on different interface to make sure there's no security hole over there. Otherwise, people can easily buy something with 0 token because that price information is missing, right? So this is just an example. So there's a lot of considerations we need to put when we expand the function into a better complicated model, right? In order to provide a better user experience. That means also it might introduce a lot of security issues. Here.
Now, with the USD coin anchoring all of this, is there a certain amount of liquidity that you have to invest into the USDT?
So that's first. We might start to basically mark the asset with USDT price, but we are not creating the liquidity pool for ourselves. We just provide an opportunity for people to buy and sell using stablecoin. So in the next step, if we have build a kind of like an Uptick system, stable coin, that will introduce the liquidity pool to share the liquidity with different other tokens to create a stable coin. So, but that's the next step.
Now, your native coin on the blockchain, I know that's some time away with regards to becoming public. Is that different than this Uptick stablecoin? Obviously you would have that would be a second coin.
Yeah, that will be separate coin because we cannot combine them together in one. So basically, so that can be a kind of like a stable coin, Uptick stable coin. But I cannot say exact how it works yet because our team is still building the economy model for that. On the other side, the Uptick coin, Uptick token is more like a utility and a governance token for the community. So that can be a separate one.
Hey, Brian, the last time we talked, you were talking about like another version of Uptick on some sort of consortium blockchain. So it was like only within China, I think, and not using Iris. How's that going?
Yeah, there's a version you can call it MOCA. So it's a version but it's not specific for Chinese market, but it's I would say it's more for regulated market who requires fiat payment, and probably they don't allow a virtual currency payment. So that's the version for that. So basically, where the user can mint the NFT asset on the consortium blockchain we are using, so which is on the BSN, called the Blockchain Service Network in China, and also they have also their international version. So basically, the assets is on the blockchain, but on the top, the payment is using the fiat payments, like a WeChat Pay, Alipay, and even like a PayPal. And in China, we are also waiting for the digital currency. China has a DCEP, right? Digital currency and the electronic payment, basically the digital currency of the China from central bank. So that's another type of a fiat payment. So we are going to incorporate that into that consortium blockchain version.
That's fascinating. Now, I'm curious, this might be completely off subject, but with that DCEP, is that going to integrate into the global financial system in the near term, or is that something that's going to stay isolated to the Chinese financial market?
Frankly, I don't know. So, and a lot of countries' central bank are considering this direction. Some are taking actions. Some are doing the research, right? So, I don't know how it works in the global space, but by nature it should be available to the global space. But that's something maybe beyond technology and the economy, right? So maybe a lot of political reasons will decide the scope, how it can be used. I just try to understand in a simple application level, how can we use it, right, to make sure it will reach out to the general public in that region.
Excellent. Well, listen, let's shift gears here a little bit. Now, I know you've been traveling and meeting a lot of different artists of various walks of life and levels of success. I was wondering if you could maybe go over some of those stories and tell us about some of these artists that you've met, your maybe plans that you have in partnership or whatnot.
Okay, yeah, that's a fun part. So in Uptick, I really put a lot of time on this corner, because I really want to understand, get to know the creators who came to the Uptick and who might be planning to the Uptick. So we want to understand what they want and what they want to express. For example, I give you an example here in current Uptick application. There are two active, I would say, creators. I cannot say artist, but in my view, they are the same because I myself is like an amateur for this. So one person is called Marceloni, right? So you can see a lot of sketches from him. He is from Philippines. So I don't know him, but I talked to him through the Telegram to ask him why he came to Uptick. He just told me he is he's a student. He's a self-taught traditional and digital artist in Philippines. So because of that, he tried to, as a traditional artist, he tried to use pencils, ballpoint pen, paint, all kind of stuff as his medium, right, to create his piece. At the same time, he tried to he is pretty active in different exhibitions in his school and also in his community. So for doing that, he get to know NFT and the digital art. So he started actually just a month ago. He started it. So that's the time he came to Uptick. He published his sketches. So I really like it. Actually, I don't know how you view it, Henry.
So actually, I can add to this story, and I think it's humble of him to not fully disclose how he ended up on Uptick. But in my survey of other spaces, I met him at Twinsy.io, and he was, at the time, he was struggling there, had no sales. And I said to him, as I have now with several artists, I encouraged him to come over to Uptick because I spend a lot of time there, and it would be easier for me to see what he was doing. I don't spend as much time, nearly as much time at any place else than Uptick. So I helped him, walked him through coming up and, downloading the app, etc. Walked him onto Uptick. And I asked him, he said to me, I am struggling because I don't have the technology. My family's very poor. He needed a phone in order to improve what he was doing. And I said, listen, how much is your phone that you need? And he said, in pesos, I think he said 7,000 or 8,000 pesos. And I didn't know what that was. And he says, $150 US. I said, okay, well, let's make a deal here. I said, I'm going to give you a topic. And the topic was loneliness. And I said, I want you to think about the idea of loneliness in the perspective of that you are lonely being outside of this dream that you are chasing as an artist and wanting to grow into the digital market, and you're outside of it looking in, therefore you're lonely. And so I challenged him to make a work, and that when I liked, or when I could feel exactly what I was looking for, that I would buy that work for the equivalent of $150 US, and that he would be able to buy his phone and take the next step. Within 1 day, Brian, this kid probably sent me 25 sketches of ideas that he had about the topic. And I found the one that I loved, and I said, okay, mint it and charge 150 US dollars. And so he did it. And that was the first piece that I bought from him on Uptick. It was his first sale. And of course, none of this is known to the public, but I loved the piece. I loved his interpretation. I bought it. And then 3 days later, he sent me photographs on Telegram of the phone that he got in the mail through Amazon, I think. And then from there, that's when you started to see his earlier sketches started to evolve into more complex sketches, because he had a more powerful phone. He was able to download different photo editing apps, etc., because it had more storage. So that I just wanted to add that to the story of Marcelino, because I had been talking to him for a while too, and I find it so exciting that you're having these conversations with him, and I'm having these conversations with him. And he's a young artist. I would say I think I'm a mentor to him, and I like to mentor young artists. I do that in my real life, I should say my analog life. I do that as well. I work in local universities, helping grad students understand how to utilize art in therapy, which you know that well, actually. This is not a new topic. But anyway, so yeah, Marcelino, he was the first artist that I brought over to Uptick. And I just wanted to add that to the mix, because I think you and I are on the same page as far as welcoming new young talent and making them feel comfortable and helping them and mentoring them and giving them space to grow.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story. Because of the Uptick, we connect people together. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. And actually, I want to share another thing. So, another lady who did a lot of sketches, right? So, Henry, you also probably realized in the past few weeks. So, she's a friend of mine. So we lost contact for several years because we are working in different domains. Her name is Tan Meng. So she actually the other day I met him. So asked her what she is doing. She just told me she became a new mom, have a new baby. So that's wonderful. So on the other side, I asked her, how about your sketches? Because I know she told me she would draw one sketches per day, like several years ago. So this time I just found she actually really continued that efforts. So every day in past 6.5 years, every day she tried to she draw our sketches. So I asked him why, right? She just told me she just find there's a good habit to help herself to express herself. At the same time, the reason she tried to do that is like 5 or 6 years ago, she tried to make a decision, like she tried to draw something to give to her future child. She doesn't know what she need to draw, but she just keep doing that, just like her writing a diary for every day. So I'm glad she made it, and I invited her to Uptick. I say, okay, just post it here, so that can also make you make connections to new friends, right? So maybe you don't express yourself too much, but your work will express it for you to attract some people who is similar, who is have the same value system. Yeah, that's another story I want to share with you. So maybe the work she did is pretty premature, but I think the story behind it is very, very moving to me.
It certainly is. And I think I have in my collection on Uptick now maybe 8 or 9 of her works.
Yeah.
I actually think a lot of them are a lot of them have a real special feeling about them. They're whimsical. Their whimsy, I should say, is powerful, and that seems a bit paradoxical, but whimsy and lightheartedness is not easy to capture in a drawing. To make it whimsical and lighthearted, and that it's also it also appears impactful, intentful, and diaristic. I feel that sense of the diary, right? The artistic diary or the journalistic daily drawing. There is some kind of like psychic resonance in her work, and it's very, maybe it's immature at the moment, but it's there. I don't know. She doesn't hit it on every sketch, but she hits it on a lot of them. And I'm really, I'm excited for her. I hope she stays with it and stays with Uptick, because I look forward to seeing her sketches. I keep looking to see if there's a date like yesterday, but we're still back years. So if you talk to her again, you should say maybe she should at least once a week publish a sketch from the week we're in, so that we have a sense of her past, her present, and then we can start to anticipate her future. I really would love to see some of her sketches, like from in the last few days, whenever I look, and mostly they're from years ago. But that's something you could pass along. I even reached out to her. Well, actually, I think I reached out to you, hoping to solicit a commission on particular portraits, but I think you said she was maybe nervous and not yet feeling comfortable to take on such a work. But yeah, I'm excited about her as well joining Uptick.
I will tell her what you said. So actually she was very excited when she put his work on Uptick and play with NFT. So currently, she probably try to collect some good works she feel she did before and post it on Uptick. But what you said is correct. So we really want to see the new updates, right? So new diary from her on Uptick. It will be more interesting and more meaningful. So we can also track it. So actually, I told her, so this the Beeple's story is like past 5,000 days, right? So what she did is also similar to that, but maybe it's more. There will be more stories behind it. So that's something I'm looking for. So to bring a more meaningful people and more meaningful thing to the Uptick, to create such stickiness and to build a community for artists, creators, and collectors.
Well, and just to expand on how the Uptick space can improve with something like a profile page blog for artists, somebody like her would benefit immensely from minting a sketch from say whatever this week, and she mints that NFT, and that NFT can then be coordinated with her blog and her artist profile, like say for the day, and she can make a brief statement about its significance to her. Because it's diaristic, it's stuff like that extending the narrative behind a work is incredibly valuable to prompting collection. Now, when you have just something as simple as like a 2-word phrase or a title, and it's not very descriptive, and then the work itself is somewhat vague, and maybe, the sketch is historically associated with the study is historically associated with an eventual finished work, and I don't really think that that's her MO. So she's not doing these studies because she's in preparation for making larger works that are then considered her finished works. These are her finished works because she's a diaristic sketch artist, and I don't necessarily think that narrative is clear. And in that way, as having a way to communicate that and to develop that dialogue within Uptick, that's when I say, like, these are the kinds of features that artists will gain on collectability and gain on the value to the public by being able to communicate more information than just the work itself. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's really good. I will tell her. Yeah, so actually, she really want to express herself. After maybe several years, so she is trying to find different ways to do that. She actually early stage, she was a journalist. She can write. She can write a lot. So right now maybe she's busy with her new baby. But of course, he is trying to find different ways to express herself right now. So what you said is exactly. So we need to let a person who can express himself from different dimensions, right? Different angles. Mm-hmm. The Uptick cannot hold everything, but we can be a hub to connect all those informations together, as long as people want to browse or explore.
Right, exactly. And I could give you an update on Belardinelli, Daniel. And I'll add this story to this podcast. So, Daniel is a very successful, established, traditional artist, works out of New York City, his art studio. He shows internationally. He's one of those people that had kind of a gifted career, ran in very famous circles as a young man. And to this day, he sells at the highest level, and he works through galleries. He just had a sold out solo show in Copenhagen, not too long ago. I believe it launched maybe 2 weeks ago, and he sold out in 2 days. This is 16 works. I think he shipped off to Copenhagen, and it was sold out in 2 days. So, this is the kind of artist that I'm looking at to bring over to Uptick. And the analog artists of today are mostly standing on the outside looking in. I have another artist in mind. Actually, I have two other artists in mind right now that I'm going to be bringing over to Uptick in the near future. One of which we'll talk about at the close of the show today. KOMACHI, she's out of Japan. And this other gentleman that I'm going to bring over is a block print artist. He actually mostly does wood block carving prints. And I purchased one of his prints not too long ago. He's very reasonable prices. And he was like typical of what I'm seeing in analog artists is that they work in these physical mediums like, screen printing, block printing, aquatint, oil painting, acrylic painting, sculpture. And they're not digitally oriented. They don't know the technology. They're really not sure how to bring what they do into the NFT market. And so one of the ideas I have that I want to discuss with you off the show is creating a tutorial or a message to the analog artist, which is breaks down for them how their life's work can be valuable as NFT in the simplest way possible. Like that they do not have to be a digital artist per se. They don't have to have guru skill set with, Illustrator and Photoshop in order to become an NFT artist on Uptick. That what you need to understand is that what's valuable about your art in general can be translated as simply as through a photograph of that work itself. The photographic translation of a three-dimensional work is sufficient to build an NFT, and that could then build your market in the space. So I wanted to do something like that with you in the team. But so I'm talking to him about coming over to Uptick. And Daniel, he has now, I think, minted 4 or 5 pieces, all of which have been collected in the first day after minting. He's extremely happy about that. His price point in the NFT market, justifiably so. He's selling his works for under what the equivalent of $100 US. And I would say that in his market, like in Copenhagen, his traditional analog market prices are probably ranging from $1,000 to $10,000 US. So, people don't realize that, when the analog artists come over, they're very nervous, timid. They don't really understand their valuation in the digital art markets. And they're going to be reluctant to seek out those prices. They're going to be reluctant to charge what they command in the analog market. So for the would-be collector in the digital space, as you start to see these reputable analog artists come into the space, consider collecting them just because, they're an asset class already. They're bringing a lifetime of work and valuation growth from a different market, but the asset class is the same because ultimately NFT art will just fall into the category of art. It stands on the outside looking in still for a lot of reasons, which we discuss on many podcasts here, but all those reasons are eventually going to fade away. And you're going to see the NFT art market is going to stabilize as just another, movement within the larger category of art globally and historically.
Yeah, I think what you said is very valuable because, I also met a lot of traditional artists. They are pretty curious, or some of them are very anxious to understand how to step into this so-called digital art and NFT-based digital art. But most of them don't have a clue, and they don't understand how it works and how it can be evaluated. I think they really need people like you. So you have both experience on the analog and digital world, and also build some success story already, especially can introduce a very good methodology and also maybe tools to them. So help them to get started. So I think currently this is a big gap between the traditional artist and also this digital NFT world. So we need such bridge to help them.
Yeah, we should look at the possibility of creating some kind of marketing material, like a video orientation for would-be or potential analog artists that are considering moving over into the space, and where we break down, like, say, traditional art mediums and how they could translate. Like, I think that would be something that if we could circulate that, maybe through the digital platforms of the analog market media centers, like there's lots of different art magazines that have digital online marketplaces where you could actually put out an advertisement that is that particular video, inviting them to Uptick. With that breakdown of how their traditional art mediums translate. Something simple, something easy, that there could be some really valuable advertising in something like that.
Totally. I think like something short, maybe 1 minute. And you could even make it part of the Uptick app, I think. So you could like put a part in there where you type in your favorite artist's Twitter address. And then from there, it links to their Twitter page and sends a post. And part of that is like a 1 minute video, and then get people liking it on Twitter. I think that could do wonders.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. So actually, I want to say is I was thinking even in Uptick, no matter it's on web or app, we can have an editorial column, right? So we can post this kind of articles or tutorials over there for the users, creators who go to the Uptick. They can study and learn from that, and they put their hands on that. So that's these kind of articles can also be shared by success artists on the Uptick, right? So basically, we can help each other to find the value in this digital economy.
I think the articles are good. It's a step in the right direction, but I could be wrong. From my point of view, I think a lot of the analog artists really need a push. I don't think they're going to be actively seeking out. They would have figured it out by now if they were interested, but it's just so mysterious to them. But I think if their fans start saying, "Hey man, get on this. This is how to do it," and then other people say, "Yeah, get on it," and more people, like that Twitter post, they're going to be like, "Whoa, maybe there's something to this," and then from there they might get into it.
Agree.
If you make it simple enough, like, it would be easy for me to say, like, categorically, all right, aqua tint, let's talk about aqua tint, wood block carving, screen printing. If you're this kind of artist, consider this. Okay, let's talk to the traditional oil and acrylic painter. If you're this type of artist, this is how you can translate into the NFT market. If you're a sculptor, here are options. If you would like to even step out further and dabble in digitizing the work that exists in the analog world, here are simple apps and photo editing software programs that, as an introductory level, don't require a collegiate education to work around, like, say, Photoshop or Illustrator. There's a lot of things that we could bring into a tutorial that would help analog artists feel comfortable just jumping right in. And I think that would be something that we should look into when we have the time. Also, I wanted to tell you, Brian, today we're going to do something that, as a segment, I wanted to add a segment to not all of our podcasts, but some of our podcasts, about sort of like introducing an artist, or not so much a critique, but an open view or dialogue about an artist and their particular work. And this is another artist that I'm bringing over to Uptick in the near future, who is a digital artist now, but who I believe, historically was, before the NFT market came to be, was focused on developing that work, with traditional art mediums, and she's fantastic talent, very unique, rooted in Japanese traditional art history, in certain types of art history from Japan that I want to go over. And I was wondering if you have looked at that piece that John sent over in the email.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. So I'm just about to ask you, can you share me more about that?
Yeah. So her name is Komachi. She lives in Japan. What you're looking at here is kind of rooted in a couple of different traditional styles of Japanese screen print. On the one hand, the older style of shunga, which kind of goes back to the Edo dynasty, is traditional erotic Japanese art in printmaking. And that is the most sort of ancient contribution to the Japanese art in with regards to erotic art. But, in her work, there's a lot more going on. You have kind of a nod to what became very famous in the last 50 years, another movement called Kimbaku, Japanese bondage, as a next generation or next elevation in erotic art, is very fascinating. It's not for everybody. It has been widely criticized because of its graphic nature, and it's very rarely subtle. But this is where I think Komachi is quite brilliant in how she's developed out of what would be considered in the more puritanical West as a bit pornographic, as far as, you look at an artist like Seiyu, Ito Seiyu in Japan, who's, was responsible for bringing the rope bondage as a subject matter into high art in Japan, where, now he's considered one of the top artists, certainly a top photographers of the last 50 years, probably a top 100 most significant photographer. His impact on, photography in general, the erotic subject matters, what he did was radical, and it's widely considered to be a lasting contribution in the canon. So rope bondage is, as it's known, again, Kimbaku. Again, hope I'm not butchering the Japanese, because I don't speak Japanese, but I do speak art movements. That is the transition from shunga, which you mostly see historically as the partnering of a man and woman, a man and man, because there's a lot of also homosexuality in the over the generations that's depicted in that's depicted in shunga art, erotic art, not frowned upon. Again, very interesting that Japan is so sort of bewildering and progressive in its erotic art as compared to what you see evolve out of the West along the same time frame. I mean, you're going back, to romanticism in the time frames, and it's just prudish in the West, and it's savagely not prudish, in the East, which is fascinating. So there's that. But so she moves out of shunga, but is influenced by shunga. Again, shunga tends to always have pairing involved, the pairing of two figures. But then you have this Kimbaku movement, which she's clearly more directly quoting. But then she's incredibly contemporary in how she's extrapolating the aesthetic expectations that you have with Kimbaku arts. That is, you typically a woman suspended in bondage, but typically also the subject of the male gaze. And this is where she breaks from that tradition in a radical way, and where she destabilizes the tradition in a radical way. She's kind of off-putting the male gaze. And one of the ways she does that is by the dislocation and dismembering and abstracting of the female form, to an extreme that it borders on becoming unattractive while still holding together by a thread of aesthetic beauty, right? So where the beauty is an aesthetic thread versus a traditional sort of in-your-face cliche beauty, right? Or a cliche eroticism. Her eroticism, or even her sense of beauty, is more highly aestheticized. And this is relatively new. This is a new voice that I haven't seen before in these traditional art mediums, coming out of these traditional art mediums with the Japanese traditions. So I wanted to point her out and talk about her a little bit today. And just to point out in the piece that we're looking at, she is not, or I should say the figure in this particular piece is not bound by rope, but there is a fragmented or frayed rope, or at least symbolically it's present in those wispy lines that are surrounding the figure. So after saying all that, I would ask you if you have any comment about what you're looking at, and if you had any experience with that style of art from Japan.
I probably cannot say too much on this, but I when I look at the picture that John sent, I feel, it's pretty Oriental style, but there's a lot of elements in that. It's just a white, black, red, and a little bit gray, right? So the color is pretty simple, and it's just makes me feel it's kind of a new style. I'm exploring in the art world. The other day, maybe this is off the topic. The other day I was reading a book about another Japanese artist called Kusama Yayoi. You know that? So I'm still reading that book. I found that she is also a very famous artist. You might be like.
Oh yeah.
So Kusama Yayoi. So she actually had a co-exhibition with like Andy Warhol. So in New York together. So so-called modern artist of a 21st century. Yeah.
Well, Kusama is the most widely hailed, most famous current living pop artist. I mean, that's what she is. She became globally iconic with a piece called Infinity Room. The Infinity Room is like you walk in as the viewer to a room that she's designed with infinity mirrors, where it feels like you look off into the infinity because of the way in which the installation of mirrors is designed. And then within that infinity, she has projected color and light and shape in such a way that you're completely immersed in infinity that is both felt and seen. And so that really is what the whole world came to know her when her shows everywhere that had the Infinity Room, they were selling out. The entire show would be sold out in days. And people would be waiting in lines around the block for the possibility of a no-show to get in as a standby. But she's all over the map, man. I mean, she's into just about everything, and so I am a big fan of her work. She's also wild. I don't know if you've like looked into her profile pictures and whatnot that you can find around, but her hair is usually as wild as her art.
Red hair.
Yeah, she's great. And have you seen any of her installations with gourds that she uses gourds and then she'll like make them polka dotted? She's fantastic. Yeah. I don't know. I love her. Yes. I'm glad you know about her. She's wonderful.
Yeah. So I think probably in the future podcast, you can also introduce more great artists, right? Because you have very good understanding on the art history and also the modern art. So I think, the reason I really enjoy this journey with Uptick is the time I started to do that and the time I publish it, it kind of like connect me to different world, to different people. Without that, maybe I was not even have chance to get across to those people. That's a wonderful journey to myself too. It also pushed me to study, and also very enjoyable to study this kind of art history and art type and all the methodologies people are using for the new digital artist.
Yeah, I love that we've made contact, and I look forward to this ongoing relationship. Yeah. And I'm really happy. Let's wrap it up. We've really exhausted the updates and had a fantastic conversation and dialogue. I enjoy it. I look forward to our next show together. Do you have anything you'd like to say in closing today, or anything last that we might not have covered that you wanted to cover?
Well, I think we have covered a lot, so we can talk about this endlessly. But one thing I want to point out is, this is a very wonderful opportunity for me actually to know you, Henry, and also John, through this Uptick journey. So I really think we already built kind of like good connections on this. On the philosophical level and also on this application product level. So I really enjoy this process, and I think we can work very close to make something wonderful together.
That's great to hear.
I look forward. Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be great.
Well, thank you, Brian. All right, my good friend Brian. Thank you again for us here at Ars Cryptotica.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.